Namaste, good morning. The Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Honorable Minister of Finance, Ministers, Excellencies, Heads of Delegations, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends. It is great to be back here in Nepal. It's an honor and a privilege to be at the Nepal Investment Summit. I'm here with my colleagues from the IFC, the Vice President Hans-Peter Lankes, my colleague from MIGA, the CEO and Vice President Keiko Honda, and we, as the World Bank Group, are here to express our sense of optimism and support for Nepal, for the new Nepal. Last August, when the Honorable Minister of Finance was in Washington to visit the World Bank, we had the Nepal Day at the World Bank. That's when we got the first notion of a different Nepal. That's when we first heard about the plan for this investment summit. Later on during the year, in November 2018, I had the chance to firsthand see the commitment and the determination of the ambition to reach middle income status by 2030 of this new government. And today, with this full hall, and I understand there are more people in the overflow room, I think this is a very clear signal that everybody believes that this Nepal is a new country. It has emerged, this Nepal as a new country has emerged from decades of conflict, has gone through political transition, has recovered from the 2015 earthquake and the 2017 floods, and is resilient and on its way to become a middle-income country. We are here today as investors, development partners, officials from other nations to put our resources and our bets behind this new Nepal. And the odds that we will succeed with our resources and bets are good. The people of Nepal are resilient. I saw that in November when I visited Kaikoura in Province 3, that is rebuilding. The government is stable, has made the progression to a federal democratic republic. The prospects of executing its vision are very good. And Nepal, the government, is engaging its people through the federalism program, is engaging its people, one of the most important facts, engaging its people in the development of this nation. Growth has been steady. 2017 saw 7.9% growth. In 2018, it was 6.3%, and this year we expect over 6% again. What's more important is that growth that was driven by consumption, driven by remittances, is gradually shifting to investment-driven growth. This is very important. Poverty levels have fallen. If we go back to the 90s, 1 out of 2 Nepali was living below the poverty line. Today, it is 1 out of 7. 12%, 15% of Nepal is still below the poverty line, but tremendous progress in terms of eliminating poverty. So, the prerequisites for reaching middle income status in 2030 are very good. What it requires is sustaining the growth rates of around 7% per year. What is required, and that is what the previous speaker said, is investing more and investing more intelligently in the economy. Alone infrastructure will require investments of about 12% of GDP. So there is huge potential for such investment. I saw that in Province 1 in Barun Bazar, where we flew over the upper Arun River and we saw the potential for hydropower development. This is why we are here. We are talking about investment, because public sector investment alone cannot achieve what needs to be done in Nepal. We are here as investors to bring in resources from around the globe and from within the nation to the bettering and the development of Nepal. We are here as development partners to play our role in supporting the government and tap into the huge potential. We are here as government officials to continue with the reform agenda, which has already been very impressive. The Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Act, the PVP Act, and reforms in land and forestries. This will go far, but what is needed is not only to have these policies, but also to implement the policies and make sure that the private sector potential is unleashed. Because if the private sector can do a project, let the private sector do it. If the private sector can do a project with risk mitigation, as one of the speakers said, then organizations like the World Bank Group can come in and mitigate the risk. This will not only save some of the scarce public resources that then Nepal can invest in human capital development, in education, in healthcare, in social safety nets, but it will also bring about jobs that are driven and provided by the private sector. So what are some of the principles that we need to observe in this partnership between investors, development partners, and the government? Well, first of all, I would hope that in this partnership we keep the eye on the ball in the long term, because these reforms are not easy. These reforms will often see resistance, will often see setbacks. So we should not be discouraged if there is a short-term setback, because these reforms are getting to the core of unleashing private sector business. And very often those who are currently benefiting from a more restrictive private sector environment will resist it. That's what we in the World Bank call elite capture. So we need to support the government and keep the eye on the long-term goal. The landlocked geographic location of Nepal is actually a potential advantage, because as one of the speakers said, Nepal is located between two of the fastest growing countries, which are home to about 1 out of 3 people around the globe, two of the fastest growing economies in the world. So with an open investment environment, there's nothing better than in tapping into the potential of working and operating across borders. The government needs to hold the line on the reform agenda, but it's not only important to approve policies. This mind change has to go all the way through the public service, the civil service, because the civil servants have to implement the policy changes, have to operationalize them. They have to see themselves as facilitators for the private sector, as facilitators for bringing in investment to serve the people of Nepal. And we as the World Bank Group, we stand ready to continue supporting Nepal. The World Bank and Nepal have had a very strong and a very productive partnership over the last 50 years, and I'm convinced that over the next decades we'll continue with this partnership and accompany Nepal on its journey to middle income status. Right now we have 25 projects under implementation to the tune of $3 billion, and we are putting our money where our mouth is. We'll continue with scaling up our support to Nepal. And I would like us to do this together in partnership with the private sector, the government, and all the development partners who are here in Nepal. Let's recommit to this partnership. Let's make sure that we are doing this for the families in Gaikura who are rebuilding. Let's make sure we are doing that for the worker in Barun who will get a job in the construction site around the power plants that will be built. Let's make sure we are doing that for the girl that is attending school and getting an education and skills here for the future marketplace here in Kathmandu. Let's make sure we do that for all the hardworking and creative people of Nepal. They deserve no less. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you indeed for the acknowledgements that you've made and for your perennial positivism and the concerns that